So once again, I'm here today to share with you some inspiration I received. I get lots of cards from people, and sometimes they're store-bought cards, and they just hit me, and I go, I've got to imitate that. So I received this card from a friend, and I just really liked the simplicity of it, and yet it's just really grabs you when you look at it. So I was really impressed with it. So I wanted to imitate it with Stampin' Up! Products. And so here is my imitation of that. And I'm going to show you how I made that today. So I started with a regular A2 card. So it's cut from Whisper White Thick. And it is, it is 5.5 by 8.5. Scored at 4 1/4 to just make a standard note card size card. And I am going to be using my grid paper. Sorry for the dirty grid paper. I didn't take time to change it. I put some removable adhesive on there because I want this to not move when I'm working with it. And let's make sure you're seeing it well. Let's move it up just a little bit more. And I'm using the grid paper to make sure the card stays straight, and I'm using that removable adhesive to make sure that it stays in place. Then I cut from just regular Whisper White cardstock. I cut 3 strips, the full 8.5 inches wide by 1 inch tall, and 2 of them have removable adhesive on the back, and 1 does not. So I decided I wanted to keep this 1/8 inch border, top and bottom. And so to do that, I put this first piece with the removable adhesive on it at the halfway point, because these squares on your grid paper are 1/4 inch, and so half would be 1/8. And so I just eyeballed that to create a 1/2 inch, or 1/8 inch border, and I'm going to stick it down. Then I'm going to use the plain piece that doesn't have any sticky on it, and it's my spacer. And I'm going, because my strips are going to be each 1 inch wide. And I'm going to put it down, and then this one with adhesive, removable adhesive on the back, is going to butt right up to it. And you just want to make sure that it touches it and press it in place. And then you can take the spacer off, and this is where our first row of color is going to go. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. I made one of these before, and for this one I used a brush, and I just brushed the color. But then I got to thinking about it, and we have these wonderful sponge daub rollers, brayers, sponge brayers. And so I thought, well, I'm going to make one with the sponge brayers. So that's what we're going to do today. Just so you know, you have options, and this is a Stampin' Up! Product. So if you're a demonstrator, it gives you something to sell. And if you're wanting a different look or whatever, they're available in the catalog. So the first color that I put on the card was Pool Party. So this first strip is going to be Pool Party. And let's see, I don't know, that one's not, I've used these before, so I'm kind of looking to see what one has the color on it that I want. And so I got to switch my sponge out. So these sponges, you get the holder and some sponges with it, and you can switch them out. They just switch out like that. Okay, I'm pretty sure that was the one I used. So they're stained. You can rinse them under the faucet, wring them out, let them dry. They may stain, but the color won't come off when you start using a new color. So I'm going to ink this up really well with Pool Party. And make sure we're getting the color I want. Yeah, that's going to work. And you don't want to just go back and forth. You got to keep rolling it so it gets color all the way around. And then you can just roll it on. And then it's just a matter of rolling it on until you get the amount of color that you want, whatever kind of shading you're looking for. Now this is a totally different texture look than I got with the brushes. There's just a slight hint of texture in there. Okay, so that's the Pool Party. Now to do the next color, I'm going to lift this one up. It's got my white edge, and I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to put this one over that color and just line it up perfectly. Once you get the first one done, it works great. Okay, then I'm going to put my spacer in and put down the next mask. Keeps the color from going where you don't want it to go. Take your spacer out of the way. Here's your next layer. The next layer I put on was Petal Pink. And we'll just get the sponge inked up with Petal Pink. Oh, it's getting there. And again, you just rolling it until you get the amount of color on there that you want. And I like that. So there's the Petal Pink. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lift these up. I'm going to move this one up, line it up, put in my spacer, put down this one, make sure it's tight to the spacer, lift the spacer out of the way, and the next color I'm going to add is the Rococo Rose. And I just, oops, get my paper here. I'm using the same sponge. I just rolled it until it cleared up a little bit. And I'm using that same sponge for Rococo Rose. So we'll get that inked up really well. And here we go with Rococo Rose. Now stay in place. Probably should have refreshed my tape. It does, after you've used it a few times, it does do that. Okay, there's that one. Then we're going to take this one off. We're going to move this one up. Keep doing the same thing. We're going to put the spacer in. Oops, I need to refresh my tape. It's not sticking very well. There we go. And then here's the spacer. And then let's put refresh that one too. And again, just using that to take the spacer out. And the last color I put on was Highland Heather. I'm going to switch sponges for that one. And Highland Heather. You can see it taking shape there, can't you? Doesn't it look? Oh, it's just so cool, and it's just so easy to do. So especially with those sponge brayers. So then we peel this up. We can save those for future use. And there is the card front. Got a little bit of temporary tape. Remember, it just brushes off. So there's the front of the card. Then I had these words were on here in the gold, so I decided to emboss with gold. And I stamped these words from Field of Flowers has the word always in it. And the words so grateful and for and my friend all came from Ornate Thanks stamp set. That's this stamp set. And the word for, I just inked a portion of a stamp, so it just gets that one word, and then my friend is right there. So that's how I did that. And I embossed them all with gold embossing powder. And so then that was my finished card. This one is the brushed card. This one is the sponged card. And I don't know if you can tell, it's a pretty subtle difference, but there is just a little bit of a difference. These with the brayers had a little bit more texture to them, where the ones with the brush were smoother. So it's just a matter of taste. And I'm not going to take the time to do all the stamping and embossing. You know how to do that. So here you go. There's the finished card. I hope you enjoyed today's video and are inspired like I was.